Phillips was in her early 20s when she first met him and says she endured years of abuse from him and from other people in his network. And thank you for being here. We've heard a lot from lawyers. We've heard a lot from lawmakers. How are you feeling tonight?
Well, I'm feeling very upset. I've always stood up and I stand for so many survivors out there. I was in my early 20s. There was hundreds of girls in their early 20s, but we're always thinking about, the children, the teenagers that were harmed in this way. And as you guys are reporting on, Maria Farmer coming forward in the late 90s, 1996, almost 30 years ago, and saying that, these people were taking, pictures of us and selling them to others. And then they were threatened not to say anything. That's a pretty big statement to say. That's pretty much the same thing that most of the survivors coming forward today are saying. The same type of fear that they had and the same type of silencing and threatening. And I don't believe, I know, the former person you just had on said that, maybe it slipped through the cracks or they didn't follow up on it. There's no way that it was slipping through the cracks or they weren't following up on it. What happened is they realized they were probably up against very powerful people. And I believe that's what's mirroring what's happening today. 30 years later, they're still seeing, oh my goodness, we're up against these very powerful people. What do we do? And that's why we're seeing with these files, just little things here and there and so much being redacted and not getting the full picture and the full answers.
Yeah, the Justice Department says they're protecting victims by not releasing everything and by redacting things. That's not how you see it, though, tonight.
No, because the victims want answers. We want to know, we want to connect the dots. We want our stories to make sense. We want to know a lot of different things. So, of course, they're just going to say that just buys time, but they're protecting themselves, not the victims.
You had said before that you had talked to some other survivors as well and talked about creating your own list of the people who were around Epstein that, in addition to him, abused women. Do you think that is still something that is a step y'all might have to take?
Well, we've been taking that step. We've been talking to survivors. And when I spoke to survivors, many more have come forward. And by speaking to others, remember, there's hundreds of us. So not myself in particular, but many others who were younger, underage, or were forced to sleep with certain people. They know those names, and we have put those lists together and given them to the proper authorities. And so I do feel like the DOJ and everybody has everything they need. And with going through the files, you can also pick them out and say, okay, this person was here, and do a little bit more research and a little more digging on those particular people that we've given them those names. I don't understand why it's not happening. I feel like they have so much information to start connecting the dots and for survivors to get justice. But as you're seeing, we just keep stalling.
Can I ask you on the Attorney General, Pam Bondi? Some Democrats are saying she should resign, including Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Are you considering impeachment for the Attorney General if you don't feel that the Justice Department complies with your law?
Thomas Massie and I talked about it. He's working, as am I, on drafting articles of impeachment and inherent contempt. We haven't decided whether to move it forward yet, but we're in the process of doing it. And look, the problem that the Attorney General has, if you just look at the comments to our social media feed, is the amount of MAGA influencers who are upset with her. And the issue for her is not, are there going to be 212 Democrats who would support it? The issue for her is how many Republicans and MAGA supporters would support it. So my hope, because my hope has never been about Pam Bondi getting justice or Todd Blanche getting justice. My hope is she looks at this. She looks at the outrage that MAGA has. She looks at the disappointment that the survivors have, and she makes a decision over the next 2 weeks to actually start releasing these documents, because she may lose more Republicans in the House than she anticipates.
So y'all are drafting articles of impeachment. How will you decide if you're going to file that?
Well, one is a pragmatic decision in terms of impeachment is a political decision. And is there the support in the House of Representatives? Massie and I aren't going to just do something for the show of it. But my sense is, just looking at the initial reactions from people in MAGA, from survivors, is that this release is going to cause as much grief for Pam Bondi as the earlier releases. Susan Wild said she whiffed. This isn't building more trust. And I was early in the morning, I was giving positive quotes when Blanche was on television because he said, I'm going to release a few 100,000 documents. Someone said, well, Ro, they had to release all the documents. I said, as long as they comply with the spirit of the law, I'm fine. But this was in no way complying with the spirit of the law. Massey and I wanted to cheer for actually having released things that helped the survivors, and we were just devastated.
Well, and as Massey said tonight, he believes a future Justice Department could convict the Attorney General because the Transparency Act is not a congressional subpoena. It doesn't expire at the end of each Congress. We will see what happens and if those articles of impeachment are filed.